Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to accounting. So we're gonna be dealing with periodic inventory, but this time we're gonna be looking at LIFO costing method. So again, if you understand FIFO, LIFO should not be as difficult. All right. So again, we're gonna talk about the costing methods again. So remember FIFO. FIFO is kind of like if you think about a grocery store. You need to sell all your perishable goods first. You can't just keep buying and selling the last ones that are fresh in, because then the batch that you previously bought is going to get rotten. They're going to get spoiled. So you want to make sure you sell everything first. LIFO, on the other hand, again, I used a cell phone store as an example, because when you're selling a product, okay, you want to sell the latest models first, because usually that's the most popular, that's the best technology. Everyone wants to get their hands on the latest item first. So this is the same thing. So this is when we're looking at LIFO, usually the newer models will be selling first versus the older models. And then weighted average is when we evenly spread across the cost of it and sell them all at the same price. Now, yesterday I forgot to mention exactly what specific ID is. Again, you're not required to know too much details about specific ID. It is not that something I'm going to be teaching, but it is something that you should be aware of as an option for a costing method. So what specific ID is? An example is an auto repair shop. So obviously, when you have an auto repair shop, correct, your type of inventory will be based on 1, the car model, 2, what year is that car model, and 3, what brand is that car model. So again, though, with all those specific details that you need to have, you need to buy a specific part for a specific car. So again, in the terms of specific ID, you are marking each one with some kind of serial number, and you're buying that special part for a specific item. So again, auto repair shops, there's not one water tank that fits all cars. Every car has a different water tank. So there you go. So again, now that we're going back into last in are the first to go. So again, we're going to be diving into looking at how this is going to work. Now, LIFO is going to have the same exact equations. The same exact equations, so there will be no real difference. The only difference is when you're going to be calculating the cost of goods sold. So again, to find the purchase price is going to be quantity times the unit price. To get the total cost, it's going to be your purchase price plus your freight. To get the cost per item is going to be your total cost divided by the total quantity. And then when we're moving on to the second half, you're going to be looking at goods available, which is going to be your beginning inventory plus your net purchases. And lastly, cost of goods sold is going to be your goods available, subtract your ending inventory. All right. So let's go ahead and dive into our first example of LIFO. Again, we're going to be recognizing, so every time we make a purchase, we need to journalize it. So go ahead. How do you journalize the first one? So this first example says journalize the transaction. So June 1st, you made a purchase of 100 toys for $1.25 each. Freight cost is $25. So how do you journalize this part?
Well, 1 June
Mm-hmm.
purchase expense,
Mm-hmm.
$100
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. 100 and...
times 125. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's $125.
Correct. And then we need to include
freight expense.
freight
of
expense.
$25.
That's correct. And we'll get a total of, assuming we're going to put everything on accounts payable. So your total should be $150. Okay. Then we're going to be moving into the inventory worksheet. So right after you journalize your stuff, you need to put it into your inventory just so then you can keep track of it. So here again, we see we bought on June 1st. We have 100 items. We purchased them for $1.25 each. And how do we get purchase price?
You multiply quantity by unit price.
Yes, so you get $125. And then we have the freight of $25, so our total cost is going to be
$150.
$150. And then lastly, because we're doing LIFO, right, we need to have each batch have its own set amount of units, unit cost. So how do you find the cost per item?
Divide total cost by the quantity.
Mm-hmm.
So 150 divided by 100.
Which gives you
$1.50.
$1.50. Yes. Yes. So again, it's the same thing when you're filling out the chart for FIFO. All right. Here we have the second transaction. So June 11th, you made a purchase of 100 toys at $1.28 each. Freight cost is going to be $26. All right. So how do you journalize this?
11 June.
Mhm.
Expense
Mhm.
$128.
Mhm.
Freight expense is $26.
Mhm.
For total cost 154.
Yeah. So good. So again, assuming that we put everything on account, so accounts payable is for 154. All right. So now we have to enter it into our inventory worksheet again. So again, we entered 100 items and we purchased it for $1.25 each, giving us 128. We add the freight, which gave us a total of 154. And then we're going to divide our 154 by 100 items to get $1.54. Okay? So that is it for that transaction. Now again, we need to solve for the totals amounts before we can move on to the second portion of our worksheet. So in total, we had 200 units. In total, for those 200 units, it cost us $253. We added the $51 of freight, and now we get a total of $304. All right, these four things are going to be very useful because when we put it into our second part of the worksheet. So here we enter it again at the second part of our worksheet. We had the 200 quantity items for the $253. We added our freight, and now our total is going to be for 200 items for net purchases is going to be 304. Now we need to look at the second part. So again, we had no beginning inventory. So the amount of inventory that we have available to sell is 200 items, and it's going to be out of $304. Now again, the transaction also mentioned that on June 15, you had a total of 80 toys 80 toys left in inventory. So therefore, our inventory on hand is going to be 80. So how do you solve for the cost of goods sold?
So we sold 120.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. Now we need to figure out how much it cost us to sell 120 items. All right.
We have to go back to our chart.
Yes.
Our purchase.
So here's our chart here. This is just a little summary chart. So again, we have two batches available. We have the first batch was available for $1.50 each. Our second batch is available for $1.54. Now, looking at what method that we're using, we're doing last in or the first to go. So think about it. So we need to take our last purchase that we made and we're going to start calculating from bottom to the top. Okay, so we're getting rid of the last ones that we just purchased. So in this case, we're going to start with our 154 batch. Okay, and it's exactly 100. So we calculate that, we already know it's 154. Next, we're going to do is what? We're going to take 20 out of where? We're going to end up taking 20 items out of the first batch that we bought. So if it costs us $1.50 for each item to sell, we need to calculate 150 and we're going to multiply it by the 20 units that we sold. And that will give us a total of $30. So our total cost of goods sold is going to be 154 plus 30, which gives us 184. Okay? And then to solve for our ending inventory, okay, you can either multiply 80 times 150, or you can just simply subtract 184 from 304, and you'll get 120. All right? So same exact concept, except when we're costing our goods sold, we're going from bottom to the top. Where in FIFO, we're going from top to bottom. All right? And yes, so notice. Oh, that's wrong. It's supposed to be top to bottom. Notice that it's supposed to be from the top. Okay? So, I messed this slide up. It's supposed to be the opposite numbers. Or, I think it's this one. I forgot to delete that one. All right? Okay, so again, when we reach the end of the period and we've calculated our chart already, we have to do a conversion entry. So here's more practice. Let's go ahead and do this one now. So this is the one that we just solved for LIFO. We understand that now that we're looking at cost of goods sold as $184, and we're looking at our ending inventory only costing $120. All right. So our journal entry will be ending inventory, which is our toys, that cost us $120. Then we have to recognize how much of those 200 items that we sold. We sold a total of 184. And then you're going to zero out your purchase expense and your freight expense. Okay? So again, this is very straightforward. If you understand FIFO, LIFO is not very difficult to understand. Okay? Now, what happens when we have beginning inventory this time? All right? Since we're doing from bottom to top, how is this going to affect our inventory this time? All right? So because we have beginning inventory of $80 items, and it costs us in total $120. Let's go ahead and see what happens when we factor this in. All right. So again, on June 18, we made a purchase of 100 items, 100 toys at $127, and $25 is our freight. So again, $127 plus $25 gives us $152. So that means our batch is going to be for $152. Then we introduce our second batch, which we bought another 100 toys for $1.30. So that gives us 130 plus 26, 156. And that's going to give us $1.56 each. Again, we're going to recalculate the total before we enter in our before we do the second part of our worksheet. So we have 200 items. We have 257 plus 51, so we have a total of $308. Again, we filled out all this information. Now, let's look at inventory again. We recognize that we have 80 toys left, and it costs us $150 for each item. Okay? And we recognize that we still have 60 items available. So that means we sold a total of 220 items. Okay? So now let's look at our chart again. The last thing that we bought was 100 items. The second thing, the middle item that we bought was also 100. And then the top one that we looked at is 80 items. So here we can already see that we need to dab in the last item, which costs us $156, and then we have to dab into the 154 item, and we have to also calculate an additional 20 items at $150. So going from the bottom, we're going to start here, and we're going to calculate a total of all this. So again, for 220, we recognize that this is going to happen, okay? So because we had beginning inventory, what's going to happen is ending inventory is going to be whatever remaining that we had originally from the previous period. Okay, I don't know if that makes any sense, but you're basically keeping this 150 until you completely get rid of all of it. Okay, so you're going to see this 150 populate every single time. This is going to be part of your beginning and your ending inventory. All right. So then what we notice is our ending inventory is going to be 90, which is 60 times 1.5, or it could be 428 minus 338, which gives you 90. Okay? Now we need to convert it. Again, we need to introduce the same concept where we have a beginning inventory, but however, our beginning inventory actually becomes our ending inventory. So, but make sure you include it though. No matter where you start, this is going to also stay the same. So we're going to enter in our ending inventory, which is $90. We're going to enter how much we sold, which was for $338, our purchase expense and our freight, and then lastly, our beginning inventory of 120. All right? Any questions about LIFO?